The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at wrestlingwithjohners.com.
This is Brad Marcus with Toilet Side Wrestling Talk, welcoming you to Season 2, Episode 1, now falling under the Johners Podcasting Network. Nothing's going to change now we're part of this network, so let's get on with the show. Today's guest hails from Hempstead, New York, and actually played Division I college basketball for Hofstra University. He was trained by someone named Johnny Gargano, Candace LeRae, Pepper Parks, Aaron Draven, and has worked for such promotions as Pro Wrestling Rampage, Absolute Intense Wrestling, Paradigm, Rise, GCW, Beyond, Emerge, and I could go on. He's held the Revenge Pro World Championship. He's also held the AIW Absolute Championship as well as the Tag Team Championships he held with Swoggle. He's also held the PWR Tag Team Championships with Colby Rett. Shared the ring with likes of Justin Kyle, AC Mack, Shug D, Lee Moriarty, O'Shea Edwards, Eddie Kingston, Danhausen, MJF, and I could go on. In 2020, PWI ranked him for the second time on their top 500 list, and he came in at number 377. So let's welcome today's guest, someone who at the very least is a better basketball player and wrestler than I am, Mr. Fresh to Death, the 7-foot savage, PB Smooth. Hey, PB Smooth, how are you?
Good. How you doing? That was a nice blast from the past right there.
Oh, nice. I can. It's what I had to work with. How tall are you?
I'm actually 6'9". So
okay.
What happened was I never wanted to do the 7-foot savage moniker, but it was kind of what people were pushing me to do, just starting out, and they figured it would help me get some traction. But after I had that first WWE tryout, it came out that I was 6'9". So
okay.
You know, and then at the end of the day, I'm still huge, so it doesn't really matter. Like, it's not something
Yeah. Do you find that people are intimidated by you?
Yeah.
When did that start happening? What age?
Really young. When I was born, I was 2 feet tall. So
yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was always like the biggest kid in the room at all times. So I always was told to not play as rough and like certain things like that, and I had to grow up a little bit earlier because people always thought I was older than what I actually was. But you know, came into my own now.
Do you think are there any of your non-wrestling friends is there anyone who could take you down that's not a wrestler?
Like in an actual fight, or
well, no, just to like get you down to the ground. Is there any friend of yours that could do it?
As of right now, not that I can think about.
Okay.
Maybe a few years ago.
Oh gosh, I'd imagine that would be an awesome power to have. Okay, so I have a question. I'm sorry if these seem a little disjointed, but they'll end up going in the right direction. You have many tattoos.
Yeah, I'm actually getting one today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's where I'm gonna head out after this.
What was your most painful?
There's one on my lower stomach. It said only the strong survive, and that was probably the most painful ever.
Was it hard to were you able to breathe? You know, like without like the artist?
Yeah, so it's kind of like it's one of those things where if you breathe normal, you kind of get used to the pain.
Okay.
And I actually learned that when I started taking cold showers. Like when you breathe normal, your body like adjusts and gets used to it. And I wish I knew that. But when I got that one, I was like 18 years old. So
Okay.
I was miserable in that chair, and I wanted to get out of there.
Okay, so today, is that going to be a long sitting?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'll probably be there maybe an hour, something like that.
I'm guessing that the people at this tattoo shop aren't going to watch this, so I'm going to ask you: do you tip?
Yeah.
For those?
Yeah. Actually, one of my good friends is my tattoo artist right now, so I always tip, and he gives me like decent prices for like really good work. So.
Oh, great! And so he exclusively does your work.
At this point, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Started about 2 years ago.
So before you were a professional wrestler, you grew up playing basketball. Is that correct?
Yep.
Do you remember the first time you dunked?
I think I was like 12 years old, maybe.
Oh, wow. Was everyone impressed?
Somewhat, but you got to understand, like in the grand scheme of the world, I'm definitely somebody that is out of the norm.
Okay.
But when I'm playing basketball, that like I would play against guys that were older than me, or some of them were my height and size and whatnot. So I didn't really stick out as much right away.
Okay.
Until I was playing like my own age group. So anyway, it was kind of cool. Like I had barely like got over the rim. It was like a one-legged kind of thing. So, but it started getting better as I got older and more athletic, obviously.
Anyone who, can play D1 basketball is probably awesome in high school. Were you like the main guy on your high school team?
Yeah, I was one of the main guys. We actually had a freshman class that came in, and we all were projected to be Division I athletes.
Wow.
But unfortunately, some of them had ended up getting in trouble in school, and they got kicked out or whatever. So I ended up being like the only one that ended up finishing and going D1.
Did you get treated, because I didn't have this experience at all. I don't even know if they let me clean up like the court afterwards with like a broom, but were you treated like royalty in your high school?
I wouldn't know, but the reason is because I was raised differently. So my parents are Southern. Like I grew up in New York. My parents are from Alabama, and they're very big on being blue collar and respectful and like doing your work and all that kind of stuff. So I can even remember a time in middle school where my grade point average was like a 75. And it was still like eligible to play, but my mom made me sit out games because she wasn't happy with that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I was just raised completely differently. So I always did my work, made sure my grade point average was good. I stayed in good standing with my teachers and all that kind of stuff.
Was that in fear of your mom?
I feared my dad more.
Okay.
But at that point, it was kind of like a common thing. Like I knew I had to keep my grades up to play.
Okay.
So it actually ended up helping me because I don't know how it is now since I'm obviously 29 and not in the basketball world anymore.
Yeah.
But you had to have a certain GPA to match an SAT score to be able to be eligible for scholarships. So because my GPA was high enough, I only took the SAT once.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I was kind of happy she did that.
So at what point in your senior year, or maybe it was even junior, did you like sign a letter of intent?
I signed it the fall of my senior year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was that a relief?
Somewhat. I mean, I still had like that other season to play.
Uh-huh.
And even if you sign a letter of intent, if something happens drastic, you can lose the scholarship essentially.
So they can withdraw the offer?
Yeah, like if your grades dropped or like you got in like trouble with the law maybe or something like that.
Oh, okay. So it's no different than any other year. You had to keep up that.
Yeah, you had to like still be solid and do what you had to do.
Oh, I forgot to ask this a couple seconds ago. Can I ask how your parents went from Alabama to New York? Not like by car, I mean. Like.
Yeah, two different experiences. I think my mom moved up here because her side of the family is really big. She had like 10, 12 brothers and sisters and whatnot. And a lot of them moved up to New York. So she ended up moving up to live with one of them and figure out life. My dad is a more of a sad kind of story. Okay. So he was raised by his grandmother in Alabama, and he was actually dating a white woman that's father was a police officer that obviously, in this case, was kind of like racist and didn't like him and whatnot. and threatened him. So he ended up moving to New York because of that. And then he met my mom like years later. Like they didn't meet.
Oh, wow.
They met in New York.
Oh, that's cool though that they had similar background as far as where they grew up or that part of the country.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get back to your parents in a minute. So was there is it a big jump from high school to D1?
Absolutely. Because the best way to explain it is when you look at a Division I roster, all 12 of those guys were the best in their area. And people forget that. So like you still have to work and like put yourself in a position to excel at that level, because everyone you're playing with at that point is a star, as opposed to you just being the best in your area. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I always tell my son when he asks me, he's like, "Who's the worst player in the NBA?" And I'm like, it's not really a fair question because they're one of the best players in the world.
Yeah. So I was lucky enough that I played AAU and traveled a lot. So a lot of the guys that went D1 that I would run into, I've played against already. So so I can almost kind of know what I'm walking into as opposed to like everything else.
Does that give you confidence?
In a sense, yeah. But I mean, and the other thing is like when you go Division I, it becomes a job. And a lot of people don't understand that. And like that's why there's talks of players wanting to get paid and things like that. So just my summer schedule, I had conditioning runs at 6:30 a.m. I had class from 8 to 10. Then I had to go to the weight room. I had to go get lunch. Then we had individual workouts, maybe another class, and then open gym. And this was just like in the summer. This wasn't even like during like regular school. And we had to be there for 2 summer sessions at least, which is about like June, July, and then the beginning of August or something like that.
Oh my God. So do they like you don't even have like room to like if you wanted to get a job or something, right? Like you don't have that time.
No, I don't think you can even have a job when you're a Division I. Like I think you had to like just be there for like the sport or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. Do you remember the toughest guy you've ever guarded?
It's so long ago. That's a tough one. I'd really have to think about that one. I couldn't.
All right, let's narrow it down. It wasn't me, and then you can get back to me on who it was. Just some facts. Yeah. So, were you going to continue on after you graduated?
Yeah. So the main goal was for me to play basketball overseas, but I ended up coming back to school to finish my master's, and it was really because of the girl I was dating at the time. And then things didn't work out, and I went through this weird like depression phase. Everyone knew that I loved professional wrestling. I just didn't know about the independents. So when I was in grad school, one of the girls I was friends with a girl that was dating a local wrestler. So they started bringing me to independent shows and whatnot. And I inquired about reffing at some point, but they told me I was too big, and then they had me try out. And one thing just led to another with that.
So you went back and you got your master's. Yes. Were your parents okay with you choosing to like pursue pro wrestling?
At first they were really weird about it, but they wouldn't like voice it too much to me because my parents know how to be supportive, and they know I'm very stubborn. So if I say I'm gonna do something, whether they agree or not, I'm gonna go for it.
Okay.
But, they see how much effort I put into it because it was all on my own dime. So like they're seeing like the rewards now. Like I just got flown to Vegas to do a show like 2 weeks ago.
Oh wow!
So now like they're really on board with it, kind of, and accepting.
Have they seen you wrestle in person?
My mom has. My dad hasn't. But my dad also is he's an aggressive dude. So let me put it this way: he would get my team technical fouls from being in the stands when I played basketball, because he's that like loud and
wow.
So imagine him thinking somebody is like beating up his son.
Yeah. He'd be in the ring.
So he loves wrestling, but like he don't want to. I don't think he can watch like certain stuff live with me.
Have you guys ever talked about it?
Yeah, but he gets into it.
Yeah.
Let him enjoy it, you know.
Who exposed you to wrestling for the first time?
My grandma. So he would have my grandma babysit me and my cousin, and it would just be on randomly in the house. And she loved like The Rock and Kane. For some reason, those were her favorite wrestlers. So like we'd watch it with her. We'd have all like the video games for like the Nintendo 64. And my dad worked 4 jobs when I was younger. So whenever he came home at night, Monday Night Raw was what was on TV. So naturally, we would just watch that together, and it kind of grew from that.
Is that like looking back? Is that great memories like that? Like you got to watch wrestling with your grandmother. You know, like you have that in your mind and those memories.
Yeah, I think about that stuff all the time, and like it's part of motivation for me. Like because I want them to be able to watch me on that TV, or watch me now on Iwtv. So it's pretty awesome to see how it all comes full circle.
Would people that you went to high school with be surprised that you're a pro wrestler?
Ones that really know me know.
Okay.
And then the ones that kind of knew me, like, yeah, and they'd be like kind of supportive. The thing is just my personality fits what professional wrestling is.
Okay.
You know, between me being like an athlete and being charismatic and outgoing at times and whatnot. And I've always been into stuff like this. So like it comes no surprise to them that I'm actually doing it.
Did for your first day of training, did you think that you were ready?
This is bad to say, but I was definitely more ready than everyone else there.
Okay. No, it's
well, I mean, here's the thing, just being like a collegiate athlete and playing sports all my life, I know there's going to be an athletic component to professional wrestling. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to go to a tryout and not be in shape and not be prepared to do drills and whatnot. And the problem was a lot of people go, oh, they're just acting. They're just doing this or that. So they show up thinking that it's all good. And then they're throwing up in a trash can.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah. So, I mean, like the technical aspect, it took a while to get. But like I was never in a situation where I wasn't ready to go. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
Were you excited the night before your first day of training?
Yeah, I didn't really sleep that night.
That's it. Was my next question was going to be. I don't know how anyone could because that's like a big life step. Did you start training with like a group of people?
It was a training school in Erie, PA, where I live right now, and the promotion was Pro Wrestling Rampage. So what would happen is we'd get there at 8 a.m. We'd set up the ring. We'd train, we'd go get food, come back, and then do the show that night. So we'd work security or whatever the case may be. And the problem was we only trained when we had the ring up, which was once a month for shows.
Okay.
So yeah, it sucked. So going from practicing basketball like every day to only being able to train once a month, it was kind of stressful because I didn't know like what I needed to do to progress. Yeah. But luckily enough, I found out about AIW school in Cleveland, and I got to train with Johnny Gargano for 2 years, pretty much every Tuesday and Thursday. So that's when I really started progressing more.
See, because at your first stop, that would be you'd be in the ring training 12 times a year, as opposed to twice a week. Like if it played out like that. Is it so? Did you move to Ohio at that point?
No, I just drove back and forth.
How long was that drive?
90 minutes each way. Sometimes longer depending on the weather.
Yeah. Would you drive solo?
At first I had one of my friends helping me because I used to get like really bad anxiety driving like long distances.
Yeah.
When she moved, I had to figure it out. So I started driving myself, and I got caught out there in a snowstorm a few times. Like,
yeah, that could be scary, especially like in between exits. That's it. I was driving in a windstorm like a month or two ago, and I saw a semi just get blown over like it was a piece of paper. It was crazy. But
I was just so focused on wanting to be really good and wanting to do a lifestyle full-time thing. So just had to do what I had to do.
Did you have to change your eating habits or your workout habits at all?
Yeah. So pretty much I believe in sports specific training. So when I played basketball, I would do things that would tailor to me being a basketball player. You know what I'm saying? So with wrestling, I needed to bulk up as opposed to being thinner to run down a court and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I need more muscle mass, not only for aesthetic purposes, but to be able to move people around the way I need to and do that as a big man. So it took a while to figure out how to adjust my diet and things like that. Start lifting heavier, start doing exercises and lifts that pertain specifically to how I move in a wrestling ring.
Mm-hmm.
So just figuring that out was like a big piece for me. And then I took some of the weight training we did from my WWE tryout, and I incorporate that as well.
Do you think so you're in good shape for a young man? Do you think that I'm 45 years old, okay, and like very thin, don't work out? Would there be any way that I could get to where you are before my life runs out?
I think,
do you know what I mean? Like bulk up like that?
I think you could get to the best version of who you are.
Okay.
Yeah, like I'm not one of those people that think that like at a certain age, like you just like it's over. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Because you have guys like Eddie Kingston that are just getting signed at 38.
Yeah.
You have the Blade that looks like he's 25. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Sure.
It's more about how you decide to like take care of your body. And especially in this day and age, there's so much new science out there and different things that you can do to like build your muscle mass. You know what I'm saying? It's just a matter of how dedicated you are to doing that.
I've never asked anyone this, and I'm surprised I haven't. How do you like develop your move set? Like do you have to be careful? Like, oh, so-and-so uses this, I can't do that.
I used to think like that in the beginning, but I also, and a wrestler told me this one time, when you go out there, you're automatically different in the perspective that it's you doing what you're doing as opposed to somebody else. So for me, I would look at some of what my favorite wrestlers did and try to find ways to make it my own and come up with creative things in that aspect. Because you can only reinvent the wheel so many times.
Yeah.
But when you do it, it's different. It's the same as if you watch a basketball player, you know, like there's so many different moves you could do in basketball. But Michael Jordan doing something is different from Russell Westbrook doing it.
Yeah.
Right? So just kind of taking that approach with it and seeing what comes natural and comfortable for me to do on a regular basis. So
at the time of your first match, did you feel you were ready, or did someone tell you that you were ready?
I was ready, as in I wanted to get out there and start going, because for my first year, I played like that Kevin Nash like bodyguard role, where I was ringside doing like little things here and there. But seeing like other guys in the class having actual matches and stuff, it made me want to get out there. You know what I'm saying? So like it was better for my development that I didn't, but in terms of actually getting out there ready to go, like I needed that experience.
And then who tells you, all right, you're on tonight's show?
It was the promoter Jamie Scott and my trainer Aaron Draven. So pretty much like I said, they wanted me to be in that role just so I get used to being around the crowd and stuff like that. And as a bigger guy, it's a little bit different. So if I make certain mistakes early on, it could kill the believability of what I am, as opposed to a smaller guy that can bump around and do whatever, you know what I mean? And then like he could just come back the next week and nobody's going to think about that.
Is it difficult, like being in the ring and having all of these things in mind outside of the physical part, you know? Is it hard to like focus on like the audience and focus on telling the story and doing the moves, or do you just get really used to it?
1000%. That's the hardest part. Like this is harder than any like sport, like any basketball that I play, any of that, just because it comes at you from so many different angles. Like I'm just now reaching that point where I'm 5 years in and I'm comfortable with knowing who I am and what I'm doing and the package I'm presenting to the audience.
Sure. And so you've won some championships. Is that important to you? You know how sometimes like Leonardo DiCaprio say, you know, the Academy Award's not important to me. I don't need awards. Is that like, is it though cool to get a championship?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely good to be to have that recognition for like the efforts that you put in and whatnot. but I also feel like I'm somebody that can captivate a crowd with or without a title. Like I feel like I want to be the guy that makes the title more prestigious when I win it, as opposed to I need a title for people to know who I am, if that makes sense.
And is it like, are you competing with like your the other wrestlers or your friends? Is that hard, like competing for, a title or for a spot like on a show in like the main event? Is that hard?
It is if you take that perspective on it, for sure.
Okay.
I feel at this point in my career, like I said, I'm comfortable with the package I present, and I feel that me being myself is already different from what other people are doing. So it's just a matter of capitalizing on the opportunities that I do get. Like I think we're especially like right now, we're in a time where wrestling is more inclusive, and what I mean by that is that, like, I feel like there was a time where there was only like one angry black guy on the card doing that specific role, but now there are shows where we all can be ourselves and show different presentations of who we are. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like I'm a draw. Honestly, like I can just go to a grocery store right now and somebody's going to stare at me and want to know what I do. So if somebody's not taking advantage of that, that's on them. I just need to be ready for the people that want to take advantage of that. You know what I mean?
And so what would you say, like, is the thing that's brought the most to your life as, being a professional wrestler?
The learning experiences and the people that I've met.
Sure.
I feel like if I wasn't a professional wrestler, there's a lot of different people and different walks of life that I would have never came across. Because they're not people I would normally just be around, just in general. Everyday life. I've been able to travel to different states and out the country, and like because of that, I have a more empathetic view on the world. And I understand different people's perspectives, and I think it makes me a better human.
Are you able to like watch wrestling now as a fan? Like, I mean, can you like separate?
For the most part, I feel like I had to start watching like a fan to enjoy it again. Because there was a period where I was just trying to study everything, and I was too focused on being a perfectionist that I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. Which was the point in me doing this in the beginning, was because I loved it, So I think we all have a little bit of fan in ourselves, and when we're able to connect with that on a genuine level, it'll help us be a better wrestler.
Sure. Oh, I forgot to ask you this. Did you ever do anything weird with your belts? As in, not like weird, but like, sleep with it on the pillow next to, take it to dinner, wear it around the house, wear it watching TV?
I was just focused more on the creating content aspect. So I could probably find it for you, but there was a video I did where I sell like chapstick, because chapstick is essentially like lip balm, because chapstick is copyrighted. Lip balm is essentially like my Razor Ramon's toothpick in a sense. So I did like a commercial pretty much where I had the belt with me and I was marketing my lip balm or whatever. And
cool.
It did pretty well back in the day. So that's on my old Twitter that got suspended over like some music thing. But
that's what usually does it. Do you play video games?
I do.
Okay. Do you have any of the 2K, WWE 2K?
Nah, I used to, but the thing is, when I play video games, it's kind of like an escape for me.
Yeah.
Like I don't even buy like the NBA 2K games.
Oh, really? That's all we play here.
Yeah, no, like I'm a genuine like video game fan. So I have Resident Evils, I have the Grand Theft Autos, the Mass Effects.
Question for you. Granted, I haven't played Grand Theft Auto since the first Xbox came out, but my 7-year-old is like driving my wife and I crazy that he wants to get it on Xbox One. Is it inappropriate for a 7-year-old still? Because I remember you could beat up like hookers and stuff in the.
It's 1,000% inappropriate for a 7-year-old.
Okay, so I should stick to my guns, because I kind of waver, but my wife is.
What I was playing at 7. He got to at least. Ideally, he'd be like 18, but I think with good parenting, he could be like 13 to 15 and realize, hey, I'm not supposed to actually go do this in real life.
Okay, good. Yeah, because he, it's 7, crazy.
That's a stretch.
Oh yeah, okay, good. So you've never had WWE 2K and made yourself?
No, I did when I was like younger, but that was before I started wrestling. When I started wrestling, I didn't care as much for some reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, this is my last wrestling related question. And you don't have to answer this, but is it hard to have like a relationship outside the ring and wrestle at the same, wrestle every weekend and
like a boyfriend girlfriend type
boyfriend girlfriend, or even like maintaining your friendships with like people who aren't wrestlers?
Yeah, it's very challenging because you're sacrificing a lot. Like I've missed weddings, birthdays, like different kinds of things just because I'm chasing this lifestyle of being a professional wrestler and booking opportunities and whatnot. So it definitely puts you in a situation where you'll know who genuinely cares and wants to stay in contact with you, and people that kind of fall by the wayside, I guess.
Sure.
So if it's somebody you really care about, it's definitely going to take effort and knowing when to prioritize what. But you're definitely going to lose some friends in that aspect.
Oh, gosh. All right. I have 5 non-wrestling related questions. They're just yes or no's. You don't have to go anything beyond that if you don't want. I try not to make them too weird. I ran it by my wife, but I don't think she was listening to me. So, okay. Have you ever cried in any Vin Diesel movie?
No.
Okay. Have you could you recite any lyrics to any Celine Dion song?
No.
Okay. For $825,000, would you just wear diapers for the rest of your life?
Like around the house or just everywhere?
It's everywhere. When you get up in the morning, you throw a diaper on.
Like I could only wrestle in that?
No, you have it on just like you would be wearing like boxer shorts or something.
Oh, so like under my clothes.
Oh yeah. Oh no, not just walking around like a baby. No, under your clothes.
Yeah,
$825,000. It's pretty good for that. Yeah. All right. Have you ever been sent in like a pod from another planet to Earth where our sun gave you incredible powers and you were raised by Earthlings on a farm? Has that ever happened to you?
Not that I know of.
Okay. I'm just checking for supernaturals. Is there any food that you despise, and would you be willing to make a declaration of hate about it right now?
Peeps.
Oh, okay, good. And that was a quick answer, too.
Peeps and candy corn. I hate them.
Oh, I hate candy corn. That was a really good answer. All right, well, you did 5 for 5, so good job. When are you wrestling next?
June 18th, I'm in Cleveland, Ohio for Absolute Intense Wrestling. And June 19th, I'm in Pittsburgh for Rise Wrestling.
Are you planning on wrestling a bunch throughout the summer and fall?
Yeah, I have some stuff planned. I'm going back to Vegas in August.
Oh, nice.
Where
do you stay when you go to Vegas?
Wherever the booker books a hotel for me.
Okay. Is it a decent hotel, not like a...
Oh, it was a nice hotel.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, they took care of me. They got me a nice flight. I didn't have to fly Spirit. It was great.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, Spirit. Oh, God, don't even get me started. So, like you were saying, a lot of your stuff's on Iwtv. Do you ever watch Iwtv as like a fan?
Yeah.
Like other promotion. Do you ever feel that this is what happens to me? I feel sometimes overwhelmed that there's so much stuff on there. It's hard to like watch everything.
Yeah, it could be. But when I'm on there, I typically have a bullseye on what I'm looking for to watch. So that but it's good to have that catalog. Like I feel Iwtv helps a lot of wrestlers break out. And if you really want to find new talent, sometimes you could just surf that how you do Netflix.
Yeah, sure.
The guy you like, you type his name in and you can see his catalog of work. And I feel like that's really big for people that are like true wrestling fans and want to see the business grow.
Last question. I'm sorry. I keep thinking. How do you feel about death matches?
I believe it's an art form, and I feel like there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, so I can appreciate it for that. Mm-hmm. It's just not for me, so I would never do it.
Okay, so you would never do like a thumbtack match.
I wouldn't be a pretty boy if I was allowing moves and stuff like that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for giving me some time on this Thursday it's Thursday afternoon. I really appreciate it, and anytime you have something to say, you're always welcome to come on the show.
Appreciate you, man.
All right, PV Smooth, you take care.
All right, you too.
All right, bye.